So Fortnite came out with a new mode, Arena Boxfights, and I wanted to test it out and give my thoughts and, see what it's like. Now, I've grinded out all the way to the Builder's Crest backbling, which takes 300 round wins in order to obtain, and it's the hardest item to get. So I think it's safe to say that I gave this mode a fair chance. First, I think it's best to go over the positives, and then I'll touch upon what I feel like are the downsides of this mode. So one thing that I think Arena Boxfights does well is introducing competitive mechanics and concepts to new and inexperienced players. I know personally that I didn't really touch some of the other creative Boxfights maps because many of the players there are quite experienced, and I would often just lose by a landslide and not even get any good practice out of it in the end. And so as a result, I actually found that I improved more from this Arena Boxfights map than I would on a creative Boxfights map as a result. Now, I'm not sure whether that's because I actually stuck around to the mode and played it for a long time, or whether it was because playing against people of a similar skill level allowed me to improve more. To be honest, I can't say, but I think having weaker opponents gave me more motivation to stay, which helped me get better. So there's that. Despite this, however, I think there's a reason why many people think that this mode is mid, and why I ultimately also feel like this mode is mid. One of the biggest issues with this mode are actually the wait times. When you consider the fact that this mode is based around the design and concept of quick and consistent fights, you have like the loading screens, you have like the animations, the matchmaking, which all just makes this mode feel very slow. It feels like a regular BR match, even though it's supposed to be significantly faster. And as well as that, there's also a huge problem with the player base of this mode. And I'm not talking about like skill level or like age or anything like that. I mean the players that leave the game after losing 1 or 2 rounds, that are always in your game every single match, that force you to have to sit in the lobby doing nothing because there's an uneven amount of players and the game can't give you an opponent because he has already left the game. These are the people that make this mode so much worse than it needs to be. As well as this, I think the mode tries to please 2 entirely different crowds of people at the same time as well, while not really making either of them happy. On one hand, because this mode is supposed to be a competitive mode that utilizes a skill set that's only really used by more seasoned players, as your average casual lobby is not going to be out here, box fighting, piecing opponents, anything like that. But on the other hand, Arena Boxfights has more sort of casual elements baked into it, such as the no build phase and the storm damage phase, which it works against the idea of sort of box fighting in general as a skill set, because you can just sort of wait out your opponent through storm damage. As well as this, I think Arena Boxfights being made with Creative 2.0 also doesn't really do it any favors, since the mode is just riddled with bugs such as the shotguns not shooting, controller players pulling up the leaderboard when they try to edit or sprint, and overall just a janky experience in general. But in the end of the day, I made this video because I think the idea and the core concept of an Epic Games made boxfight mode is actually a really good idea. And I also found that, strangely enough, I benefited from this mode, getting in a lot of good practice and finding myself better than I was, 300 wins ago. But also, I can't find myself recommending this mode to anyone else, unless they fit my exact criteria, and even then, I don't think I'm going to be playing this mode long term, so I can't think of anybody that I'd recommend this to, and as a result, I think this mode's just kind of mid. Which is a shame because Epic Games has been somewhat consistently spending resources and manpower on modes that don't really go anywhere, such as, you know, Fortnite Ballistic, which conceptually seems like a fun idea, but as of the recording of this video is actually not even in the game anymore. It's been fully removed. And then there's like Rocket Racing, which is also going to get removed later this year, so, you know, as a fan of this game, I just want to see Epic using the resources more efficiently, you know, to give us, the players, sort of good seasons, new fresh content, things that actually resonate with us, rather than seeing them invest resources in modes that we're just not really fans of, to be honest. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say, and despite the sort of questionable decisions that have been going on at Epic as of recently, with, you know, the layoffs, the V-Buck increase cost, you know, I think if we just ignore that, I think this season's actually a lot of fun, and I've actually been enjoying it. I've heard similar things from other people too, you know, maybe some people aren't, but I'm having a blast, and I think that shows that Epic is actually capable of making good content, and so hopefully, you know, things can turn around and Epic Games can remind us all why we love playing Fortnite.
Enjoy your winning streak.